Good morning. How are you all? Welcome to Bible class with Andre and Betty. We're continuing our studies from the book of 1 Samuel, and today we're in chapter 28. And we'll see King Saul desperate at this point in his life, and he's nearing his time of death. But we'll see how desperate he becomes as we continue in 1 Samuel chapter 28. Verse 1. And it came to pass in those days, that is, the days where David was living in Gath of the Philistines in chapter 27, after he left the land of Judah. And it came to pass in those days that the Philistines gathered their armies together for warfare to fight with Israel. So the Philistines are the enemies of Israel, and while David is in Gath, they start gathering together to fight against Israel. And Achish is the king of Gath, and Achish said unto David, Know thou assuredly that thou shalt go out with me to battle, you and your men, or thou and thy men. So we're going to fight against Israel, and you all are going to fight with us. Verse 2. And David said to Achish, Surely thou shalt know what thy servant can do. I'll be a good soldier for you. And Achish said to David, Therefore will I make thee keeper of mine head forever. I'm going to count on you to protect me. Now, it's going to change the scene altogether in verse 3. Now Samuel was dead, and all Israel lamented him and buried him in Ramah, even in his own city. So a few chapters back, Samuel died, and now they're getting ready to show us some things that's happened since Samuel has died. So Samuel was dead, and all Israel lamented him or mourned him and buried him in Ramah, even in his own city. And King Saul, had put away those that had familiar spirits and the wizards out of the land. These familiar spirits are psychics and fortune tellers and magic art. So Saul had put them out of the land of Israel. Verse 4, and the Philistines gathered themselves together and came and pitched or set up camp in Shunem. And Saul gathered all Israel together, and they set up camp in Gilboa. Now, these places are in the land, vicinities of the land of Israel, but they're in different campsites. Verse 5. And when Saul saw the host or the army of the Philistines, he was afraid, and his heart greatly trembled. Verse 6. And when Saul inquired of the Lord answered him not, neither by dreams, nor by Urim, nor by prophets. So God did not answer him, and he's going to become desperate because he's looking at the Philistines coming against him, and he does not know what to do. So he's going to resort to calling these witches and wizards, looking for them to get them to tell him, them to call up Samuel from the dead to tell him what to do. And so verse 7, then said Saul unto his servants, seek me a woman that hath a familiar spirit, or a lying and seducing spirit, that I might go to her and inquire of her. And his servants said to him, behold, there is a woman that hath a familiar spirit at Endor. So that's a fortune teller or a psychic. Verse 8, and Saul disguised himself and put on other raiment, and he went, and 2 men with him, and they came to the woman by night, trying not to be seen, or that he would not be recognized. And he said, I pray thee to this woman, divine unto me by the familiar spirit, and bring me him up whom I shall name unto thee. So he's talking to the fortune teller and telling her what he wants done, but now he's disguised. He's not presenting himself to her as king. Verse 9, and the woman said unto him, behold, thou knowest what Saul hath done, how he hath cut off those that have familiar spirits, and the wizards. And the wizards are men, psychics, and fortune tellers. The witch is the female is the witch. But he cut off those that have familiar spirits and the wizards out of the land. Wherefore then layest thou a snare for my life to cause me to die? So she hesitated about what was being asked of her. Verse 10, and Saul sware to her by the Lord. See how desperate he is, saying, as the Lord liveth, there shall no punishment happen to thee for this thing. Verse 11, then said the woman, whom shall I bring up unto thee? And Saul said, bring me up Samuel. So Samuel is in the grave. And he said, bring up the dead. And in the Old Testament, these people are called necromancers, praying for the dead and bringing up the dead to life. Verse 12. And when the woman saw Samuel, she cried with a loud voice. She wasn't expecting anything to happen, but she got surprised when she saw Samuel, and she cried out with a loud voice. And the woman spake to Saul, saying, why hast thou deceived me? For you are Saul. You deceived me, and now I brought this being up. Verse 13, and the king said unto her, be not afraid, for what sawest you? What did you see, or what sawest thou? And the woman said unto Saul, I saw gods ascending out of the earth. That's what she saw. Verse 14, and he said unto her, what form is he of? And she said, an old man cometh up, and he is covered with a mantle or a robe. And Saul perceived or understood that it was Samuel, and he stooped with his face to the ground and bowed himself, being overwhelmed by actually being able to see Samuel. Verse 15, and Samuel began to speak to him, and Samuel said to Saul, why hast thou disquieted me? Why have you disturbed me to bring me up? And Saul answered, I am sore or severely distressed, for the Philistines made war against me, and God is departed from me, and answered me no more, neither by prophets nor by dreams. Therefore I have called you, I have called thee, that you mayest make known unto me what I shall do. So he's having a conversation with Samuel, even though Samuel is dead. And some theologians say this was just whatever, but I'm just reading the word of God, and it didn't give any indication that this was a mirage. Then said Samuel, wherefore then dost thou ask of me, seeing the Lord is departed from thee, and is become thine enemy? Verse 17, and the Lord had done to him, speaking of David, as he spake by me. For the Lord had torn or rent the kingdom out of thine hand and given it to thy neighbor, even David. And you can see where God did this for him in chapter 13 of this book, verse 18. Because thou obeyest not the voice of the Lord, nor executed his fierce wrath upon Amalek, therefore hath the Lord done this thing unto thee this day. That's why you're in the mess you're in. Verse 19, moreover, the Lord will also deliver Israel with thee into the hand of the Philistines. And tomorrow shalt thou and thy sons be with me. You'll be in the grave too. The Lord also shall deliver the host of Israel into the hand of the Philistines. This will happen in chapter 31, verse 20. Then Saul fell straightway immediately all along on the earth, and was sorely or severely afraid because of the words of Samuel. And there was no strength in him, for he had eaten no bread all the day nor all the night. So he was weak and exhausted. 21. And the woman, the witch of Endor, and the woman came unto Saul and saw that he was sore troubled, and said unto him, behold, thine handmaid had obeyed thy voice, and I have put my life in my hand. You put me in jeopardy, and have hearkened unto thy words, which thou spakest unto me. So I listened to you. Now I want you to listen to me. Verse 22. Now, therefore, I pray thee, hearken thou also unto the voice of thy handmaid, and let me set a morsel of bread before thee, and eat, that thou mayest have strength when thou goest on thy way. Verse 23, but he refused and said, I will not eat. So he's severely depressed. But his servants, together with the woman, compelled him, and he hearkened unto their voice. So he rose up from the earth and sat upon the bed. Verse 24. And the woman had a fat calf in the house, and she hasted and she hurried and killed it, and took flour and kneaded it, and did bake unleavened bread thereof. Verse 25, and she brought it before Saul and before his servants, and they did eat. Then they rose up and went away that night. And so we're nearing the end of the book of 1 Samuel, and these next chapters are going to be really interesting. And it's been interesting the whole time. But thank you all for listening. We'll see you next time, and God bless all of you. Bye.